You got something else. You got something else.
You got something else.
He does. He's hiding. He lies.
Mr. Bubbles? What do you have there, Mr. Bubbles?
It's Mr. Nibbles. Mr. Bubbles. Don't make a fun of Mr. Nibbles. Oh, no.
It's the mid-1970s. Bell-bottom pants were at the height of popularity just as the Vietnam War was ending, and young adults needed a release or distraction from those tumultuous years. And just as it did in the 50s, rock and roll became that form of release. During this time, the A&R focus was on Los Angeles and New York, signing fledgling bands to what would certainly come to be known as a spec deal. In the greater Los Angeles area, there seemed to be a race of newly formed rock bands trying to beat a footpath to the record labels' doors in hopes of landing the proverbial record deal. One of the bands to break out and win that race was Van Halen from Pasadena, California. Needless to say, they won the coveted prize of a multi-record deal, fame, fortune, and the rest is history. Just south of Pasadena is Alhambra, a quaint town of bungalows and quiet streets where children played ball. An ice cream truck would slowly drive the town with his jingle-jangle music blaring from beat-up speakers, and life was safe and pleasant. As with most smaller towns, there was an industrial area as well, and tucked in one of the small rented shop spaces in this blue-collar area was a group of musicians trying to pave their future in rock and roll. This was the band Razu. They started as a 5-piece rock band in the vein of the Doobie Brothers, or somewhere just this side of hard rock, and were very good at their job, practicing and honing their craft with the intensity not found in most bands. Eventually, several members drifted apart and others were recruited. Razu ended up a 4-piece and sounded more like Boston than the Doobie Brothers. The band now consisted of original members Chris Eads and Tom Santee, the later added member Bob Loza, and newest member youngster Carl Elizondo. With guitars blaring, drums pounding, and enough sweat to drench a towel, the band rehearsed 5 nights a week and playing shows on the weekends, usually a college frat party or the backyard party, where teens would pay $5 to get in and drink all the beer they could suck down before the kegs ran dry. Razu was brought to the attention of Jim Leftwich at JSL Productions, who promised the band a swift ride to the top, ensuring he would be the end-all of band managers. This was not the case, and the boys quickly broke ties with Leftwich. The band went back to the drawing board, rehearsing and perfecting their craft so much as they could, along with the help of Tom Santee, calling clubs in a bid to audition to play. They were soon being requested to perform at most clubs in Southern California. The boys would load up their beige 1970-something van and pile in along with the equipment to head off to perform their brand of rock and roll. By this time, the band were booked several nights a week playing cover tunes, blaring 4 45-minute sets of Queen, Boston, Foreigner, Cheap Trick, and some of their original music with a 15-minute break, which was just long enough to catch their breath, drink a beer, and line up the next set of songs. The band offered promotional t-shirts and guitar picks to help bolster the band's popularity. This pace continued for quite some time, while the boys continued to write their own music. It has been said that the songs they crafted were probably ahead of their time, as the structure of their songs were impeccable. Well, at least in their minds. Razu was surrounded by a loyal group of roadies and their sound man, John Graves, who convinced the boys to record their original music, which commenced sometime in 1978. There were 3 full-blown recording sessions, the first session capturing some of the earliest songs they had written, and the second session captured the latter of the written songs. The wheel kept turning for the boys, graduating to clubs like the Starwood, the Troubadour, and Gazaris in Hollywood. Their popularity stretched all the way from Pomona to the Inland Empire, playing clubs such as The Image, The Connection, and the Ash Grove. In the early 80s, the band seemed to drift as their routine seemed endless, and the horizon seemed to fall more distant in their line of sight. The music scene was changing, and the dawn of hair metal seemed to cement the distance between obscurity and fame. As with many bands of the time, fame and fortune seemed to always be just a grasp away, and the Razu members went their separate ways. The ensuing years saw Carl and Bob play in different bands as well as end up forming Heroes in Love. Tom built the bustling backline business Auntie M Creative Consultants, and Chris was employed by Tom, becoming his lead foreman for the business. A few years into the 90s, the boys convened once more to record a few tunes with the fading hope that something could come from it. But this story is all too familiar with musicians who chase the proverbial carrot. It has been 50 years from the first rehearsal. The music industry has since been pummeled by greedy record executives, leaving a sour taste in many an old rocker's mouth. Sure, it was a dream, and certainly was an adventure, but the failure to achieve world status didn't take away or shatter the love and respect these 4 guys from the San Gabriel Valley had and continue to have for one another. 50 years later, the boys have decided to release those much coveted original songs that they played live for crowds back in the day, for the sole reason of saying, we were here. And the songs we wrote meant something not only to us, but to the friends and fans. More than a collection of songs, it's a recollection of songs which not only consists of music, lyrics, and musicianship, but memories of the more carefree days of our youth, where we went with guitars and drums blasting into the night. Today, as you drive around the memories in your mind, you can look back in your rear-view mirror and see all the miles behind you.
Mr. Bubbles? What do you have there, Mr. Bubbles?
It's Mr. Nibbles. Mr. Bubbles. Don't make a fun of Mr. Nibbles.
Oh, no, Grandpa, it's just me. There's a in the bathtub. All right, we won't talk about poking.
No poking in the boys' room.
No, it wasn't poking, it was smoking.
Where'd you get that Snickers and a Coke from?
Fada.
Oh, Father, yes, I know. He's been telling the young nuns that they have the key to heaven, and what is that? The holy lock to heaven. And all this time he's been telling me it was Gabriel's trumpet.